from the Tibet Center in South Orange, New Jersey. We'll begin by reciting a prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped and wished. The Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once, the Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines the Dharmas called profound illumination, and at the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, how should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge? And Avalokiteshvara answered, Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn or unceasing, they are not impure or pure, they neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor there any out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no path, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge, and since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. They transcend falsity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequal mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, should be known as truth, for there is no deception. In transcendent knowledge, the mantra is proclaimed. Tayato Mugate Gate Paragate Parasambhate Bodhisattva. Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. And the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, good, O son of noble family, profound, transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you have taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara that whole gathering in the world with its clouds of humans as sure as in their harvest, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One.
Now we generate bodhicitta with the wish to free
Free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today, in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world.
So let's, before we start, do one rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum. Since we've just generated bodhicitta, the essence of bodhicitta is compassion. Compassion is the wish to remove the suffering of others. And when we recite the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, we can think of the meaning of the mantra. Om being made up of A, U, Ma, representing our body, speech, and mind in their impure form, and the body, speech, and mind of a fully enlightened being, which is what we work towards transforming our body, speech, and mind into. And then the two aspects of practice, like the two wings of a bird, Mani representing the wisdom aspect of practice, and Padme, Mani, the method aspect, and Padme, the wisdom aspect, which have to be conjoined, brought together in the form of which we can think as represented by Hum. And so by this Mani, the practicing of the method, and the Padme, the wisdom, we bring about a transformation of our impure body, speech, and mind into the body, speech, and mind of a fully enlightened Buddha. So, as we recite Om, Om Mani Padme Hum, think of these qualities, think of what each of these elements of the mantra mean. Okay, we will recite Om Mani Padme Hum, 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 Om Mani Padme Hum.
Hum. So Om Mani Padme Hum really contains the essence of our practice. If we really think of what we are trying to do, it's to cultivate compassion, loving kindness, patience, joyful effort, all the qualities, and diminish our self-cherishing and diminish our non-virtuous actions. All of these practices are contained within what is represented by Mani and Padme. And then the Hum is bringing these two wings of the bird of practice together, and thereby transforming the body, speech, and mind represented by Hum from the by Om, from the impure body, speech, and mind into pure body, speech, and mind. So thinking of this and then devoting yourself to actually cultivating the qualities of that are represented by that are the practices of method, the practices of wisdom. That's what we should devote our lives to. So I know that you've been studying another text. I don't possess the other text. Tony has very kindly ordered a copy for me.
That's it.
But
The house copy's here.
okay.
That's something that Nick donated.
Okay.
The other Nick. There's two.
Okay. There are two Nicks. There are many Nicks. So,
would you like to use this copy?
no, I haven't. I don't know the book, so I will continue on with Beyond Religion, Ethics for a Whole World, which I must say every time I pick up and read, I find so inspiring. So I'm going to something that we've already covered, but it's ethics in our shared world, our global challenges.
What page? Thank you.
83. Anyway, I'll read it. At my residence in Dharamsala, the hill station in northern India, which has been my home since the early 1960s, it is my daily habit to rise early, normally around 3:30 a.m. After some hours of mental exercises and contemplation, I generally listen to the world news on the radio. Most often, I tune to the BBC World Service. It's a routine that I have followed for many years as a way of staying in touch with the events around the world. As I listen to the constant stream of reports about money and finance, about crisis, conflict, and war, it often strikes me that the complex problems we face in the world, problems of corruption, environment, politics, and so on, almost always indicate a failure of moral ethics and inner values. At every level, we see a lack of self-discipline. Many problems are also due to failure of discernment, of short-sightedness, or narrow-mindedness. So I feel that just that encapsulates a representation of the way in which we should go about our lives. We are members, we are living within the world, we're living within society, we follow the news. And it's really important that in addition to just following the news, we assume a responsibility towards the society we live in.
that we don't just listen to the news and become depressed by it, but that we use it as to analyze and see how it is the failure of humans to really act in selfless, ethically correct ways, and the fact that they are acting in self-serving, selfish ways that cause the problems that we hear on the news. And if we analyze the news the way His Holiness is suggesting here, and if we then use that news as a motivation to work on ourselves, then we're really making good use of the situation that we find ourselves in. I don't want to just be talking. I want this to be a conversation that we have. So please feel free to chime in and participate in this. Of course, the causes and conditions of particular problems can be immensely complex. The seeds of ethnic violence, rebellion, and war, for example, often almost invariably date back decades or even centuries. But still, if we are really interested in tackling our problems at their roots, whether we are talking about human conflict, poverty, or environmental destruction, we have to recognize that they are ultimately related to issues of ethics. So, what does ethics mean?
Right livelihood.
Ethics means right livelihood.
Yes.
Can you expand on that?
Treating others as with respect and as you would have them treat you.
Okay, do you know anything? I don't, but do you know anything more about the basis for the word ethics, or where it comes from,
No.
or the sort of Greek roots of?
Ethos.
Yes, like a kind of, ethics.
Do give us a Google.
It's an idea that you're not in the world alone, which the mind thinks it is.
Ethics is like an internal kind of rubric of like boundaries or rules in some ways, or your own kind of. Sometimes I get confused between ethics and morals. I don't know the difference.
I don't either.
According to Google, it's derived from the Greek ethos, meaning the science of morals, and goes into Latin, meaning ethnic.
The science of morals. So can you give us morals? No, don't bring it to me. Morals.
Morals?
No one knows that word these days.
Science of morals. Yeah. What's moral? What are morals?
That could go on all night, that conversation. You know, what kind of person has what kind of behavior?
A moral compass.
Moral compass, you know, what kind of.
Moral compass.
You could do this if you're that level person. So we won't bring that in, because that just starts people going wild.
Morals?
It says, morals are a person's beliefs about right and wrong and how to act and treat others. Or, A lesson, especially one concerning what is right or prudent,
Right, the moral of
that
the
can
story.
be derived from a story, a piece of information, or an experience. Quote, the moral of the story was
Well,
that one
that's a
must
different
see the
thing.
beauty in what one has. Or a person's standards of behavior or beliefs concerning what is and is not acceptable for them to do.
So can you give me the first one again?
Right and wrong.
A lesson, especially one concerning what is right or prudent.
Or rather, sorry, but before the lesson one, was the inner beliefs of something really? Or is there something before
The
that?
very first.
Oh,
Let's hear about
okay,
him.
yes. Morals are a person's beliefs about right and wrong and how to act and treat others.
Right. Inner beliefs about right or wrong and how to act toward others. And ethics is the science
Oh, it's what she
of
said.
morals.
A person's beliefs
About right and wrong and how to act towards others.
Yes.
So,
Examples of morals include treating others as you want to be treated, being honest, having empathy, not stealing, and being respectful.
They say that ethics are the science of morals, is that correct? Is that what they said before?
Yes. Under
Right.
The Greek derivation.
under ethics. Ethics are the science of morals.
so it's not that they're contradictory.
Right.
So, one can really consider the whole, instead of talking about it as a Buddhist path, a spiritual path is one in which one is exercising morals in as profound a way as one can to bring about the happiness of others, and that would to a great extent be the method aspect of one's practice, and then to go even further, the development of the wisdom aspect of our practice, the Padme, the lotus, one is working towards the diminishment of self-cherishing and the realization that there is no self to grasp at. So those are the two, I'm going back to the mantra of Om Mani Padme Hum, but the two, the Mani and the Padme, that we are working at uniting, represented by Hum, in order to transform the Om, the A-U-Ma, our body, speech, and mind, into a pure body, speech, and mind. Yes?
Yes.
Yes?
Otherwise, we're fragmented.
To put each thing in its category, and they're not restricted, they interact. One informs the other.
Well, I think I find it helpful
to see it in a sort of simplified way, and in a way that it helps. The repetition of Om Mani Padme Hum is something that Chungla Rinpoche used to really encourage us to engage in all the time. Just have as the vibration, as the sound, of our lives,
And if we really see how it encompasses the whole of spiritual practice, then and if we can identify the way in which we are working towards behaving in our lives and unite that with Om Mani Padme Hum, then that vibration or that sound really begins to have some meaning. It's not just, in India today, most cars have along the back window Om Mani Padme Hum. Those Tibetan prayer flags. People.
Not every, the Tibetan.
No, everyone. Non-Tibetans. You see them all over. People on their motorcycles will often put on their handlebars this little these prayer flags that say Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Yeah, it's become a thing.
Good thing.
Yeah, yes, but no one has any idea what it means. And here we're really working towards remembering what it means, because as I say, I think that remembering what it means and helps it sort of sparks a little bit of vitality into developing.
To know what it means, yes. He used to say, even in the toilet you should say. Right, okay. That's what he spoke, He's always on a crude level when he talks to me. He knows where I live, but.
So.
Well, you can go on and on about this. It's a vast subject. One time someone asked, give us the meaning of Om Mani. It's a vast subject.
Well, it's a vast subject because it contains the entirety of the.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
As vast as the breath. Breath is a vast subject. Don't ask anymore. You don't.
So.
But that's directed to me. It's not a general statement.
Seems to be such a quick and direct connection to everyone. I feel that whenever I'm doing Om Mani Padme Hum, it's like the most direct I could ever, and the quickest to empathy and compassion to other people in my experience. It feels very profound, for sure.
Well, given that it is the mantra of compassion, and given that we are so innately self-centered, the breaking down of that innate self-centeredness is essential, and the way we have to do it is by cultivating this awareness of others and assumption of responsibility towards them, and that's fundamental in at the beginning of our practice, in the middle of our practice, and at the end of our practice. And even the Buddhas, what motivates them is compassion.
Responsibility for others should wipe out self-centeredness over time, I guess. I'm just thinking mathematical formula. The other thing is it won't hurt. So those who are on the fence about Om Mani Padme, it won't hurt.
You're being very.
She doesn't feel well.
Contemplating.
You feel better now? No
I'm
migraine.
getting there. I'm still, after the water, it's like,
Hot water. So, His Holiness goes on, and I find this, whether we're talking about human conflict, poverty, or environmental destruction, we have to recognize that they are ultimately related to issues of ethics. Our shared problems do not fall from the sky, nor are they created by some higher force. For the most part, they're products of human action and human error. If human action can create these problems in the first place, then surely we humans must have the capacity, as well as the responsibility, to find their solutions. Now, I find that a very challenging thing. If human action can create problems, then surely humans should be able to find their solutions. Now, should be able to. And what would be the solution of the problems that humankind creates? It's interesting to be reading this now because we find ourselves in a situation where, in some senses, it may be too late.
On the eve of destruction, you mean?
Yeah.
You know, the possibilities there in society.
His Holiness has, on a number of occasions recently, said the Earth is warming. And he actually says that some scientists have told him that within 70 years the Earth may not be inhabitable.
Habitable.
Sorry?
May not be habitable. Yeah.
May not be habitable, may be inhabitable. And that's
Very scary.
and what he then goes on to say is, if that is the case, if we're only going to be here for a few more years, let's be nice to each other. Why harm each other? Why engage in this extraordinary, selfish, unethical behavior that we all seem to be participating in? So, as I say, I find this a challenging. I find this book to be really full of these nuggets that we should contemplate and use to bring about transformation in ourselves. But this one, if human action can create these problems in the first place, then surely we humans must have the capacity as well as the responsibility to find their solutions. Now, what are the solutions to the problems? How can we actually engage in solutions to the problems that we have dug ourselves into?
It involves communicating properly. There are good ideas, there are solutions that scientists have given us. How do you convince those who have the reins of power to adapt them? How can you overcome the negative lobbyists, the Exxon lobby that wants to burn more fuel?
That's a challenge, to be able to inspire people with the right ideas.
But do you think that it is our responsibility to be preaching, or is it our responsibility to work at changing
Change
the only
ourselves.
Of course, but
You wait for that, it could take eons. Somehow
But
there must
can we
be
do
an
anything
artistic
else?
way. Well, there's artists have a way of somehow influencing people. You know, there has to be a way of influencing people and letting them know, like this book does, for your own good. He's always showing you the good of society is your own good too, things like that. That it's a new teaching style also. If you got this next book, all of, like you said, nuggets, they're there. You pick up a half a page, and you have this is a lifetime of information. He's really good at this, and I think it comes from nowhere else but his heart. I think, but I'll go crazy now talking about how nice he is. That's no good. That doesn't convince anyone.
So, yes.
Also, I think if we look at our own mortality, if we realize from each person has to realize that we're going to die at some point, so that sort of puts an urgency and a more of an awareness as to the problem within ourselves. And then, since we have a finite time, then we can start to work on ourselves. But a lot of people look at death as something sort of abstract, that it's not going to happen to me.
Yeah, I think so.
You know,
Where I was, this Sri Lankan friend of mine was talking about the use of cell phones in Sri Lanka, and how he finds that a lot of the elder people who don't really know how to use the phone to the extent that it can be used, use it to watch little videos to pass time. And it was, and to be honest, I think we all do that a little bit. But when he said it, what struck me was that these are people who, what he was describing are people who felt a need to have time pass, that time was not seen as the extraordinary precious thing that it is. It was seen as something that had to be gotten through in an entertaining way. And what does it lead to? It leads to the end of our lives. That's where this process of
Yeah. I confess that sometimes I think when I'm feeling maybe slightly more dissociated, or feeling a little bit like avoided of maybe really kind of internalizing the Dharma, or internalizing the gift that I have of time and life, that there is maybe a feeling that does settle in that feels like, well, if I died today, I would just be done. Sounds horrible, but there is a feeling of saying, I won't be here, is a simplistic kind of one-dimensional, not really the consideration of the next life, the life before, where I'm headed, what's happening, what my karma, etc. When I don't consider those things, it feels one-dimensional, and it feels like I'm off the hook. It's like a not a great feeling, but also kind of like a killing time kind of feeling. Yeah.
I think a lot of people who don't have practice religion or have any kind of morals or ethics probably will do that. They just think, well, when my life is over, that's it. There's nothing else after that, and I can do whatever I want. That's the problem.
Most people don't think they're going to die. I remember Rinpoche always said, even old people don't think they're going to die. And that was true in a nursing home. Somebody's on hospice, which means it's over. So they still think of this and that, and I'll go watch this. Strange.
There's a quality, I think, to being on a phone that feels like death, I think. I wouldn't know what death feels like, but it's like being asleep while awake or something like that. It feels like there's something very numbing about it. I think feels maybe there's a feeling of comfort to it. That's probably why it's so addictive, but yeah, it's a little bit kind of asleep at the wheel of a feeling. And I wonder if that's why it's so kind of dangerous, is because it's like I think that the phone or this kind of addictive cyclical feeling feels like if you could just do that for a really long time every day, you wouldn't really have to confront a lot of other things or something.
It's a drug.
Yeah.
It's like taking your time away from whatever time you have, stealing that away, taking that away
Yeah,
from you.
yeah, and kind of encourages maybe dissociation or avoidance in the sense that like, well, this just kind of feels good, comfortable.
What's going on in there?
I'm ordering you a copy of this book.
I have one coming, but it's supposed to be yesterday. That's all right.
That's what's going on.
Yes.
He lives here, so it'll be around if we have extra copies.
No, I have the address here, I'm just doing it.
Well, 502, right, Darren, 502?
No, I've got it right here.
07079.
I'm sorry, that was not polite, but
How do we start the day?
I just
No,
want to
no.
get on with it.
We were talking about
It's amazing.
the phone.
Yeah,
Phone and death.
yeah.
Yes.
Who do you talk to that you get these feelings? Dr. Kamor, hello.
So, to reread this, if human action can create these problems in the first place, then surely we humans must have the capacity as well as the responsibility to find their solutions. The only way we can put them right is by changing our outlook and our ways and by taking action. So I think that it's really important for us here to assume that responsibility and to do it not in terms of going out there and changing the world, but going in and changing ourselves as a way of changing the world. Because I think that really the only way that we can live up to what His Holiness is saying, if human action can create these problems in the first place, then surely we humans must have the capacity as well as the responsibility. Well, let's talk about the capacity, because we don't have the capacity to change the environmental problems. We don't have the capacity to change the political situation. We don't have the capacity to change the whatever the problems are. We don't have the capacity to change those, but we do have the capacity to, the absolute only thing that we have the capacity to actually change is ourselves. And I think that, given the fact that that is the only thing we can change, that becomes how we assume the responsibility that he's referring to here. Then surely we humans must have the capacity, we have a capacity, as well as the responsibility to find their solutions. So, I don't know, I would say, and I often refer to the Sufi saying, the unwise man tries to change others, and the medium-wise man tries to change his environment. The wise man tries to change himself. That's the only thing we can change, and I feel that that's how to assume the
But
responsibility.
how would that translate into, for instance, lessening violence in the world? Lessening pollution? We should give up, we can't do anything? Or
No.
where do we stand on that?
Lessening violence in the world, the more effort we put into lessening our own temper, lessening our own pollution, contribution to pollution would be our own selfish tendencies. Not just smoking, we don't smoke, but there are all sorts of other ways.
No, that's it, that's how to do that. It's so urgent now. If he's talking 70 years, I won't be around, but.
But it's not that we're going to change the world in 70 years. It's that,
I know.
we don't, you and I don't have 70 years, Tony,
No.
just for the record.
About 10 minutes left. This is it. We'll go somewhere else, that's the problem. Somebody go do that.
But I'm sorry, I think one can also influence others.
Yes.
For example, if you have children, I think most of the time the parents do try to influence the children and to teach them something.
Well, here,
The only person who has children is Grace.
Grace.
The rest of us
And they're
have
big
to.
children now.
Do you think that's effective? I mean, as a parent, do you think that your own ideas are reflected onto the children somewhat, or? You all right, Leslie?
Thank you, yes, thank you.
I find that for myself, like, everything that
I mean, all of you. I'm so inspired by all of your actions and by gathering every time I see you, and I want to do better. And it's influence, you know. I'm surrounded by people that I look up to. They make me want to do better. The artists that I love, the art that I love, the music that I love, all of those things often make me want to do better. And I think the more I see it, I get attracted toward artists that do good in the world. Like, I think the way that we live our own lives is such a heavy example, and is such a contribution in so many ways. Of course, yes, we can't change things that are not ourselves, but I think the way that we change ourselves can have change in the world.
You have to captivate people, I think, but that's hard to do. I think it takes a lot of merit that the Buddha could do that. So we have to work towards that status.
I saw a video the other day that someone shared with me of these high school students in Brooklyn that started a group called the Luddites. And these
I'm interested already.
high school students that were against the abuse of technology.
Ooh.
So none of them have smartphones at all. And
They ride
they
horses.
congregate and have meetings every week, and they spend time in the park together, and they play music together. It's very sweet, you know, and felt really hopeful and sweet to see.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, they're 16
Because it's
years
gone
old,
too
17
far
years
to
old.
the
It's
other,
very cool.
very good.
But that inspired me, you know.
Yeah.
I wanted to put my phone down immediately after watching the video, of course.
I don't blame them, no. Phones, I was pretty old when phones came out of radios, but these people got their phone in their formative years, like 12 and 10 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they really
Yeah.
got soaked in it,
Yeah,
in
I
the
think
culture.
they feel that
Text culture and everything.
yeah, the non-benefits.
Remember the first time you made a call on a big fat phone? The early days of cell phones.
The rotary phones.
No, this was a
Before
cell
that,
phone that
after.
looked like a radio, for God's sake. It was big. You made a call on it once. I was given one to test out and write on it. And the thing was like a shoebox walking around.
we were like a brick.
A brick.
That's the
Right,
right.
brick.
Yeah. No, I don't think that the solution is to get rid of our phones. It's not to get rid of technology. Technology is there. It's the responsibility that we have is to work towards controlling it. And I think we know that within these algorithms there are the methods to get us hooked, and each of our individual phones is there sucking us in very, very tailored ways. And but still we have to make the effort to maintain some kind of control over it, because, as I say, I don't think that we can just throw them out. I think that they are tools that we need to navigate life today. They are a given, right?
She just used one in class. She looked up, is there any group that gets rid of cameras?
Sorry?
Sad group.
Any group that gets rid of cameras and refuses to
That's
use
a sad
cameras?
group.
Joking.
So yes, I think that the work,
in a sense, spiritual work becomes the process of controlling our involvement and working towards keeping it constructive rather than self-indulgent. And that's part of our practice. That becomes a spiritual practice, and becomes part of the only way we can put them right is by changing our outlook and our ways.
One thing is probably impulse control
Yeah.
to change ourselves
I feel like introspection and mindfulness plays a really big role.
in impulse control.
Yeah, well, and just with the phone,
Very
and
good.
just hearing the voice of like, you've been on your phone for a long time.
That's
And then being able to actually stop, or, certainly, I find myself using, or hearing and trying to work on that quite a bit.
So His Holiness goes on, and will just occasionally I notice that people are making a convenient distinction between ethics on the personal level and ethics on the wider social level. To me, such attitudes are fundamentally flawed as they overlook the interdependence of our world. The individual ethics, or rather their absence, can have an impact on the lives of many. That individual ethics, or rather their absence, can have an impact on the lives of many is powerfully demonstrated by the global financial crisis that began in 2008. But taking the whole part of ethics, let's just stick to the first paragraph. Ethics on the personal level rather than ethics on the wider social level. I propose that to concern ourselves with ethics on the wider social, societal level is really not assuming proper responsibility. That it is only by involving ourselves with the cultivation of ethics on the personal level that we are truly assuming our spiritual responsibility. I put that out there as a...
This is like a practice what you preach thing. If you're going to go out at the global level, you better first. Is this what you're saying?
I'm going so far as to say,
Forget the global.
don't preach.
Yeah.
That as soon as you start preaching, you're messing with practice.
Whereas if you sort of got to a high spiritual level, it would automatically happen, probably.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, those who have are at a level where they can preach would have a practice that has led them to be able to preach. I sort of feel we
Makes
are.
sense. Makes
I
sense.
am far from that. So that's a
True.
proposition.
Mm.
You're all being very quiet.
That means we agree with you.
I was still to think this over though, because
Yeah, that's a lot to
there's a
chew on.
tendency.
It's really interesting.
We all in our mind think we're controlling the world, and we're going to do this, and why don't we do that? Mentally, we do
It's
this.
so interesting. I
It's
think
a waste of time.
I was kind of bringing this up to you the other night and talking about
Well,
music
you-
or art or these other things, but I think it's interesting talking about it on a global level, or thinking about, if I'm spouting my critique for the world or politics or something, and how everyone's doing it wrong, and what a terrible time it is, and how and meanwhile, what am I doing? Is that kind of what you're getting at in terms of there is really no there's really no good that I'm doing by discussing?
Well, you put ideas into songs and you're trying
Get a message out. Your songs are
No,
not
but I
just
mean
about-
like just in terms of if that's the conversation.
That's the conversation, that's
Yeah.
it, yep.
There's no good being done by kind of pontificating on what everyone else is doing wrong. Because it's rooted in.
Do you think that there's good in pontificating
I'm
on?
perplexed by this sometimes because sometimes I think it's healthy for people to communicate about ideas and what's going on in the world. It seems like it can be connection for people to kind of get their ideas out of their minds and, sometimes almost performatively try on what they've concocted upstairs somewhere. And when they say it out loud, they can learn about what they've just said in some way.
That's what we're doing here.
Sure. But in terms of talking about politics or, the world's problems, I think sometimes people can, I don't know, it can feel like, are you saying that sometimes people can, in the place of doing something good, talk about it and feel like they've done something? Or is it not actually helpful or good for one to discuss it in the first place?
Can you take the prayer out from underneath the cat?
Oh, he said
He
it.
hears a woman's voice, he goes to a female.
Come on, buddy, don't sit on prayers. It's not good for your karma. Thank you.
Yes.
So, again, I think I can only talk personally.
Yeah.
I think that it's better to refrain from too much complaining about the situation and devote more time to working on myself. And that's, as I say, I think it's dangerous, even in this context, to suggest that anyone else
Do it a certain way. Yeah, understood.
and it's 8 o'clock.
Names?
There we have it.
Well, yeah.
A suggestion to please pray for all, I was reading 45 million turkeys were killed for Thanksgiving.
So let us pray for the 45 million turkeys. Let us pray for a virtuous rebirth.
Lance Morrow.
No, he's not dead, he's still alive.
We can pray for those who
We can pray
in
for
hospice, may we not?
absolutely.
But this says, may they be reborn. That's
No,
all right.
you're right, Tony. No,
Lance
you're
will
right.
get on Saturday too. No, that's all right, do whatever you want.
That's true, we would do Lance on Saturday.
That's all
You're
right.
correct, Tony, I'm sorry.
No,
So we shall recite the Sutra of the recollection of the Noble Three Jewels for all the turkeys who are being killed, have been killed, to feed us on Thanksgiving. I prostrate to the Omniscient One. Thus the Buddha Bhagavad Tathagata Arhat Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata
World, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas and humans is the Buddha Bhagavad. The Tathagata is accord with all merit. He does not waste the roots of virtue. He is completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He is adorned with the minor marks. He blossoms with the flowers of the major marks. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him, he is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those who long with faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He is the teacher of all sentient beings. He is the father of bodhisattvas. He is the king of the noble ones.
He is the guide of those who journey to the city of Nirvana.
He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing.
One never has enough of seeing him.
His form is incomparable.
He is not stained by the realm of desire. He is not stained by the realm of form.
He
He
is
is
not
not
affected
affected
by
by the formless realm.
He is
He is completely liberated from suffering. He is completely and utterly liberated from his skandhas. He is not possessed with dhatus.
His
His
five
ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots.
He is
Completely liberated from extreme torment.
He
He
is
is liberated from craving.
He has crossed over the river.
He is perfected in all the wisdoms.
He
He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats, who arise in the past, present, and future.
He
Does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection.
He
He dwells on the bhumi where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha Bhagavat. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent, its words are excellent, it is uncorrupted, it is completely perfect and completely pure, it completely purifies. The Bhagavad teaches the Dharma well, it brings complete vision, it is free from sickness, it is always timely, it directs one further, seeing it fulfills one's purpose, it brings discriminating insight for the wise. The Dharma, which is taught by the Bhagavad, is revealed properly in the Vinaya.
It is
renunciation.
It
Causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction.
It is pithy,
It is trustworthy, and puts an end to the journey. As for the son of the great Jnana, they enter completely, they enter insightfully, they enter straightforwardly, they enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration with joined palms. They are worthy of receiving prostration. They are a field of glorious merit. They are completely capable of receiving all gifts. They are an object of generosity.
They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector
Who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous liberating from lower realms. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma, which is peace.
Having been liberated,
They show the path of liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue.
I prostrate to the Sangha.
I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully and always to these three. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivable, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm.
Make a prayer for a swift return. Exalted
The wisdom of all victors gathered in a drop. Sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes. Guru Lozam Tumam Dojajam. Please bear witness here today, that our prayers may be fulfilled.
We beseech the
Great
great
torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago vast waves of aspirational prayers. Lord of speech of the victor Losang's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by means of explanation and practice. Though holding the commitment, I will invite all beings to be my guests in unsurpassed great awakening. Yet you have withdrawn the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme among beings, the Bodhisattvas? Though impossible for you to stick with existence and to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech you, son of Nirmanakaya, to swiftly return to the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Bodhicitta, drawn by 7 steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religious life, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full holder of the sage's teachings, and wish-fulfilling jewel, return as the glory of Losang Tenpei.
Magnificent truth of the three precious jewels, Mahabala, Paramayanam, Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharma protectors, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh moonlight face.
Thank you. And I wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.